What we have here is a 2003 Kawasaki Drifter and a Suzuki M109R. Can you even do much of a comparison? Intro, maestro! So obviously there's no comparison whatsoever between these two bikes. I've got a 2003 Kawasaki Drifter and a 2019 Suzuki M109R. These bikes are night and day. Two completely different riding experiences. Both great bikes. I love them both to death. I love riding both, but just one is, different from the other. My 2003 Kawasaki, I got that a couple years ago. I actually inherited it from my dad. When he bought it, it looked like an Indian pretty much. And you can tell once we get into it, you'll tell that it does kind of have the resemblance of an Indian. Apparently, according to all my YouTube searches, Kawasaki tried to do an imitation Indian and they got sued or something like that. We won't get into that because I don't know too much about that. But I've had the bike for about 4 years now. I've done a number of trips on it. I haven't ridden more than about 4 hours on the bike going upstate. Great bike, kept up with all the rest. And then I've got my 2019 Suzuki, my bully. This thing is an awesome bike, and anyone that has one, I'm sure they'll admit that this is probably one of the better bikes that they've had. Yeah, just two different riding experiences. I mean, yeah, we'll get into it, man. Let's get into the specifics. So here's my 2003 Kawasaki Drifter. This bike is an absolute dream to have. I first got this bike, it was at 14,000 miles, somewhere around there. It's now got 18,051 miles. So about 4,000 miles I put on this bike. And like I said, it was back and forth, maybe going up to Lake George and stuff like that. I've never ridden more than 4 hours straight on this bike, or else obviously your back end is going to start to hurt a little bit on this. But the most comfortable bike that I've ever ridden in such a long distance. There are a couple add-ons to this bike. Just generally speaking, this bike pushes 57 horsepower. It's 800 cc's. It weighs about 500 and change pounds, maybe 550, somewhere around there. It's pretty light. I mean, for an 800 cc bike and a big guy like me, 6'3", I mean, this thing looks like it could be a whole lot bigger. I know that Kawasaki did come with a 1500 cc bike, but this bike, it really, it's good for a guy my size. Like I said, I'm 6'3", and this thing, feels pretty good. Couple add-ons that I did to this bike. So we ended up buying the bike off of a guy for $3,500 who just wanted to get rid of the bike and move. As you can see, he was an extreme Indian fan, and so he made everything look like the Indian chief. So he had the fairing added, the windshield. He kept the frills on there, the saddlebag. My father wanted to keep with that look, and so he kept it like that until I inherited the bike, and so I made the changes I needed to. So some of the new additions that you see that I've done to this bike was because I was going on such long rides with this bike all the time. I ended up putting some highway pegs on there on the engine guard there. That does definitely make a big difference when you're going those long distances. You're able to stretch your feet out, especially for a guy my size. I got rid of the old intake and added this air intake. It's actually a supercharger. And it kind of woke up the bike a little bit when I put this intake on. The one thing that I loved about it, I mean, it's got a cool look to it. No matter what kind of bike you have, you put a supercharger on there, and it's just a nicer looking bike. You know, they got the butterflies in there that, you know, open and close as you rev the engine and as it's taking in air, which is a pretty mean look. I don't know if that's something that goes specifically with this bike, you know, trying to make this bike look mean, but, you know, it works for me. I like the way it looks. I changed the pipes on here. You know, every bike that I've had, I've changed the pipes on, only because I'm a fan of loud pipes. So these pipes are Vance and Hines. They come straight back. You know, it doesn't do much difference as it relates to the sound of the bike. It does have a little bit more of a deeper sound when you hit the engine, but not that much. You could still hear me coming a block or two away. You know, obviously, the fenders, so the original bike had saddles on there. I'm not a big fan of saddles, but what ended up happening was when I took them off, they were kind of glued onto the top here, and there was some stuff, so, you know, there was a little damage to this. So this definitely I gotta fix. But you could see that it has similar fender as the Indian. You know, completely covers the wheel. The wheel are spoked wheel, and it completely covers it. So to keep in tradition with the stuff that my dad had on here, I did end up leaving the back frills on here. If you notice in the front, I took them off because I didn't like too much of that Indian look, but I did leave them on the back just to, you know, kind of keep something that he had on there. The original seat this is the original seat. I ended up trying to use a bobber seat on this and didn't like it too much. And the seat that the bike came with was way too high for, you know, a big guy like me. So I ended up taking it off and putting the original seat back. There's really not much for me to do with this bike. I've seen a couple of examples of how other drifters look, and they actually did a pretty good job, but they put a couple bucks in making their bikes look good. I'm not gonna do that. This bike is perfectly fine the way it is. I'll probably end up taking off these fog lights in front here, only because this one kind of doesn't fit with the fairing. I'll probably take them off. I never do any night riding anyway, and so even without the fog lights and just that one headlight, I'll probably be able to see if there is an emergency that I need to ride at night. But this bike is actually, the way it is, I think I'm gonna keep it. It's a good bike. Like I said, 18,051 miles. The only thing I really need to do with it is put it on the road and keep on riding. I'll put the miles on this bike. I love this thing. And here we have it, the Bull. This is my 2019 Suzuki M109 Boulevard. This is the Boss Edition. So I just recently found out that Boss, B-O-S-S, the Boss Edition, stands for Blacked Out Special Suzuki. I never knew that. I was looking up some stuff online and I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So the Boss Edition, if you have it all blacked out, the engine compartment, the engine components and all that stuff, that's the Boss Edition. Blacked Out Special Suzuki, for all you guys that didn't know that. For all you Suzuki heads, you probably knew that, and you're thinking, where have I been? But anyway, I bought this over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, and I've had so much fun with this bike so far. I haven't taken any long trips with it just yet, but I bought it with 32 miles on it. It's now got 1,700 miles, so not much riding I did last year with this thing, but I plan to change that for this year, 2021. What can I tell you about this bike? This bike is 1,800 cc, so I graduated from an 800 cc bike to just under 1,800. I think it comes out to like 1,780 something cc's, but we'll round it off. It's 1,800 cc's. It's pushing 128 horsepower. And I'm sure it's probably a little bit more since I did some adding. I added some components to this and changed some stuff out. This bike is absolutely a dream to ride. If it sounds like I'm favoring this bike, I am, because I'm still, learning about this bike every day. I'm on YouTube still, even after a year and a half, looking at different guys with bikes and how they ride and how they customize their bikes. I'll take you for a little spin around this bike. So somebody once told me that when you change the intakes and the exhaust on a bike like this, it completely wakes up the bike. You'll have it'll be better than the stock. And so far, what I've come to see is that's pretty accurate. So one of the first things I did when I bought this bike was I changed the exhaust. So the initial exhaust, if you've seen in the pictures that I posted before, came all the way out to the back tire, and it was a little bit more quieter. After extensive research, I ended up going with the hard chrome side burners, which are extremely loud, which I'm a definite fan of. And they were actually a lot lighter than the stock pipe. So initially I said this bike was about 750 pounds. Once we took off that old exhaust and we put this one in, I think it took off a couple pounds, because that old one was pretty heavy. This one is relatively light. So this bike might be a lot lighter than the stock, the original stock. I also, unlike the Kawasaki, this Suzuki Boulevard has dual exhaust. I'm sorry, not dual exhaust. It has dual air intakes on either side. So when I changed the air intakes to these Q5 intakes, I had to change both sides. So it comes in a pair, one on this side and one on the other side. And as you can see, the airflow that goes into this is so much more than the stock. The air, as you're going, goes right into these cylinders here, and it pretty much, I'm not much of a mechanical guy, so I can't even give you the terminology. It's just a lot more air going into this, which really wakes up the bike. This is a beautiful bike. I don't know if you could see it, but someone also told me that the 2019 versions, it's like a pearl white, but if you sit it in the sun a little bit, I don't know if you could see, there's a little bit of a bluish glare on the white. That's done actually on purpose. I guess you could see it kind of right here too. So that's done on purpose. So even though it is a pearl white bike, maybe not a pearl white, I'm not even sure what kind of white it is, but I'm definitely a fan of that little bit of a glimpse of blue on there. Kind of matches the blue strip that goes on there, and I love it. What else did I add on this? I added the windshield. I wasn't much of a fan of all that air hitting me. I mean, you're going at speeds of 90 and 100 miles an hour on this bike. So the top speed that I've done so far on this bike, I think I bought it up to, it was 110 miles an hour. And then I was just like, oh, let me let it go. So as you can see, according to the speedometer, you can do up to 150. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. That's a little, I mean, you know what? I mean, there's some motorcycle enthusiasts out there that might do it. I'll never do that. I got up to 110 and I was just like, all right, that's good enough for me. But obviously going those speeds, for me, I needed, something to block the wind. So I'm 6'3", this windshield goes right to the bottom of my chin pretty much, and it pretty much deflects all the wind. I still get a little wind, hitting my head, and every time I turn to look to my blind spot, I do, get a little whipped, but it's not as bad as it was before. So this is the bully. I also added that solo bag. I did a video not too long ago on the installation of the solo bag. I actually, in that video, I had this bag on there, which I wasn't a fan of. I actually got another bag, which is a little bit bigger, and it actually has clips instead of the buckle. It has the clips. I think that's definitely a little bit more of a better choice. Someone had suggested that to me. The next project I'm gonna do is take off this complete, they call this a beaver something. I'm not sure what that is. I'm gonna do a video. I actually ordered some stuff from my good friends at meancycles.com. By the way, Mean Cycles is this shit when it comes to accessories. So I got the flag from them. I'm hanging that in there. That's gonna stay up in here. I got the t-shirt from them as well. I'm gonna be sporting that in all my videos. I did order a side mounting license plate to mount on the bottom part here, because when I take off the beaver part here, it's definitely going to show off this beautiful 240 size tire. And I want to show that off. I definitely do. So I ordered a side mounting plate that's going to go on there. I'll do a video on how to install that. And I'll also do a video on how to take this off. And I'm going to exchange it with some LED lights that go under here. Some integrated, well, they're not integrated, but they're turning signals and it's all LED and stuff. So that's going to be a future project that I'm going to do. I'll do videos on that as well. Once again, JC from Mean Cycles, I thank you for all your help. And for everybody who's been, giving me advice on how to upgrade this bike. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm in a couple groups on Facebook with the Suzuki Boulevard and with the Vulcan Drifters group. And they chat, they ask advice. They're actually pretty good. I like those forums. So there you have it, my two babies. Thank you for watching. There's going to be plenty more videos to come. So if you like this video and some of my other videos that are posted on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. I can definitely use some subscribers. This is a little pastime for me now, and this is getting to be a lot of fun. So if you like this, subscribe. That'll give me more motivation to put more videos out there for you guys, just to share with me my adventures with these two babies. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.